Welcome, gentlemen around the world, to the Gentleman's Lounge. I'm Peyton, and I'm your host of the Gentleman's Handbook podcast. And today on the podcast, I want to talk about a subject that is almost like an old adage. You know, the saying goes, when people tell you who they are, believe them. Now, oftentimes, we go through relationships, whether it's a guy and a girl, or a girl and a guy, or just friendships or things in general. But in particular, I'm going to talk about, being a guy and dating a woman and then getting blindsided. I've read a story maybe a couple months ago where this guy found out that, his children weren't his. And he said he didn't understand. He was completely blindsided. He didn't realize. He thought their marriage was perfect up until that moment. You hear that a lot of times before guys get divorced. They say things like, we didn't have any issues at all. I don't know where this is coming from. And when it comes to women, I typically like to look at three things. How they handle money, right? The more money a person gets, it shows more of who they are. So you want to look at how a woman handles the money. So if she makes more money than she usually does, how does she handle that, right? Is she saving it? Is she putting it away for better investments? Or is she spending it foolishly on nonsense? Two, power, right? When you get a position of power, right? How does she operate under that position? Same with men. It's like money, power, right? That's the basics, right? So when she gets more power, does she then turn around and use that power to inflict it upon you? Or does she use that power to like further what you and her have going on? And third and last, where women and men differ, what I would say for men is it will be women, right? It'll be money, power, and women. Is how if you see those three things in a man, you could tell you what kind of man he is. But with women, it is money, power, and attention, right? The more attention a woman gets, how does she respond, right? Does she get that attention and say, it's not that big of a deal because I got the man I want already. I don't need those other guys' attention. Or does that attention fuel her and give her what she truly always wanted, secretly in her mind? So without further ado, we're going to get started. I got 6 different things you should pay attention to understand when a person is giving you signs that they're not the person for you and when it's time for you to believe them. So the first sign is verbal, right? Verbal. People will say things that will give you insight into the thoughts and behavior patterns, right? They'll say things that will give you insight into their thoughts and behavior patterns. So for instance, like if someone's disrespectful, right? Someone lies, right? And how she describes your relationship. So I'll give you a good example of how she describes your relationship first. So let's say, you like this woman, y'all been talking for a while, and you feel like y'all in a relationship. She's like, I just feel like I'm not yet at that step enough with you to really consider myself a girlfriend, in that high inflection voice. And you're like, well, I don't get it. Why are you confused? But then you think, oh, well, don't worry about it. I'm going to just keep working with her. And eventually we're going to turn the corner and she's going to be my girlfriend. Wrong. She's telling you verbally that, right now she's basically holding on to you until she finds someone better than you. That's what she's telling you. Or lies, right? If a person lies to you about small things, it shows that you can't trust that person. Verbally, she's telling you that I'm lying because I have something to hide. And disrespect. Obviously, if somebody's disrespecting you, whether it's small or large, they're telling you they're a disrespectful person. So you can't come back 6 months later and be like, man, she's just so disrespectful. She lies, and she treats me bad. Every time we get into arguments, she always say, well, we're not together. All right, but she already gave you those clues. She already verbally told you these things. And when she verbally told these things, you just chose not to believe her, right? And a lot of times when the human mind, we often fill in holes, right, and blanks in our minds with thoughts that we would find more desirable. And that's what you did. You filled in those thoughts and patterns with positive things like, oh, I know she wouldn't do this or she wouldn't do that, right? The second one is actions. People's actions are the results of their thinking. People will tell you who they are with their actions more than they can with their words. So sneaky behavior. So a lot of times you'll realize, let's say you talking to a girl and she's texting on her phone and you come up close to get behind her, maybe to give her a hug or something, and she puts her phone down quickly so you can't see what she's doing, right? So she's giving you an indication that she's trying to hide something from you. So you can't come back 6 months later and say, oh, I didn't know she was that sneaky. Yeah, she gave you sneaky clues, right? She was trying to hide her phone from you. She was trying to stop you from realizing and recognizing the things that she was doing. She has sneaky behavior. Let's say staying out late, right? What does that tell you? That tells you that she's not at all concerned about how you feel about how late she stays out. She's not really concerned about that, right? She's not going to be concerned whether or not you're up at 3 o'clock and she's not home. So actions definitely speak louder than words. And when it comes to actions, you have to view those and you have to basically weigh them accordingly. When someone does something, they can say, "Oh, it was a mistake. I'm sorry," but many times you'll find out who you are when the opportunity comes. A lot of people might say, "Hey, this is who I am. This is what I stand for." You might say, let's say you say, "I don't sleep with married women," right? Well, it's easy not to sleep with a married woman when she look like a wildebeest. You be like, you married, you got a husband. I don't do that. But if it's a woman that you really value, a woman that you think is very attractive, like, and she comes up to you and she's married, are you still going to sleep with her? So actions definitely speak louder than words when it comes to things like that. The next thing is past, right? Past meaning a person's past. So a person's past gives a sample size of their behavior. One's past points out how they have handled and will handle situations. Just like I said before, you might say, your actions speak louder than your words. So your past says a lot about your present. So whenever you want to buy a home, right? What do? They want to run a credit check. They want to know how you handle your finances in the past as an indicator of how you will handle your finances in the future. When you want a job, they say, okay, well, we want somebody who's experienced. Why? What do they ask for? They ask for your CV or your resume. You get the resume. They want to know what you did and what makes you reliable and responsible enough to get this job. What in your past have you done to show a track record that will prove to them that you're worthy of having this job? No different when it comes to people. When a person's past comes up and you find out, let's say you find out a person used to be on drugs or used to be alcoholic, maybe people change, but people have times, have relapse and struggles, and are you willing to deal with that, right? Or if a woman tells you in the past, I was very much more sexual than I am now. I was having threesomes. I was having one night stands. Just know there's a possibility that thing can happen again. Or if she said I slept with a high number of people, it's an opportunity that she'll sleep with another person, because the more people you sleep with, the more desensitized you get to having sex with random people. It's just a fact. When you first start off having sex, you're looking at it from perspective of, I need this person to be picture perfect. I need them to have the face, the body, the hair, whatever, right? But the more sex you have, you're like, you know what? I might need a pair of breasts. I might need a nice butt. You know what I'm saying? A nice pair of lips. I like the way her lips look. So the more that person did in the past, right, it has an opportunity to come back into the present and be an issue. So if you feel like a person tells you about the past and then you don't listen, right, then, hey, these are the outcomes of such things. Next is how they treat you. So pay attention to how their relationships are with others and how do they treat you compared to the others, right? So let's say, for instance, if someone never goes out of their way to do things for you and only does things when they're convenient for you. So a good example is a small story. I remember I used to work out with a girl, with a woman. It was years ago. We work out, and she had a boyfriend, and I had a girlfriend at the time, but she respected me a lot more than her boyfriend. She went out of her way to, do nice things for me. She asked me a lot of questions like, hey, what do you think about this? Because he's not that smart. And I remember the first time I met him, we were going to run the track, and then he came to see, I guess he was trying to regulate in a way and say, I need to see who this guy is, what you got going on. So I pull up and I'm waiting for her to pull up to the track so we can go running. And her boyfriend's in the truck. He's like, hey, man. And she didn't even make a formal introduction at all. She was like, hey, she made a formal introduction on my part. So she said, hey, I don't remember the guy's name, but hey, let's say she said, hey, Bill, this is Peyton. And then she said, Peyton, this is Bill, whatever. Exactly like that. Like, she made a formal introduction like, hey, Peyton, this is Bill. Hey, Bill, this is Peyton. Letting Bill know, like, hey, this is Peyton. I have respect for Peyton. This is who he is, right? And then she said, well, Peyton, this is Bill or whatever. Like, waved him off. Like, yeah, whatever. Like that. So he didn't see that as a sign. I'm sure it was probably a lot of other things already going on, because she already told me that she didn't respect him and she felt like he was, beneath her and average and not smart, the whole nine. But that was a clear sign to him if any, that, she's treating random men better than she's treating her own boyfriend, better than she treats the guy who, buys her things, who cares about her, who loves her, who treats her with respect and kindness. That should tell you who a person is. She's letting you know right now she's a person who has no respect for you, but you refuse to see it. You refuse to believe it. Social media. Now, a lot of people might say, well, everybody has social media, right? Most people do. And social media, things that people post on social media can tell you a lot about a person, right? So the kind of clothes they wear, right? It tells you whether or not this woman needs a lot of attention, right? She wearing the skimpy clothes, she had the butt poses. It tells you whether she likes affirmations from strangers, from random men. That's one way, right? The amount of posts, too. Is she always on social media? Is she a person, like, if she has, let's say she has thousands of posts, that means she's always on social media. The kind of reposts, right? The things she reposts that others post will tell you insights into who she is. And also, right, the posted messages. You ever been on like social media and you see people post messages, different little sayings and quotes, and when they feel in certain ways, they post little cryptic messages on social media. Yeah, those things tell you a lot about a person. You look into those things and they can tell you, what kind of person it is. So, when it comes to these things, when you're looking at these things, right, you can make your decision from there, right? Either it's going to be a sexual relationship, no relationship at all, or something serious, or, maybe a friendship. But it's giving you the clues into who a person is. And a lot of times we get those clues and we just try not to use those clues. Number 6 is a very big, very, very important. Inner circle. Tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are. Birds of a feather flock together. I know a lot of people say that's not true, because it is true. In some way, you have to have something in common with the people you hang with. You have to. So if you hang with a lot of women who like to party and drink, that's cool, but that's who you are, right? And that's what you're okay with a woman, that's fine by what you want. So who are their friends and family? Family is huge. A lot of times we try to discount family because you can't help who your family is, but your family also raised you. And the family has a big part of who you are. So if you meet a woman's mother and she's a rude, obnoxious woman, right? There's an opportunity that she could be a rude, obnoxious woman. If her mother's a disrespectful woman, it's an opportunity she could be disrespectful. If you see the mother disrespecting the father, there's an opportunity that the daughter can disrespect you. If you see family structures that have no family structure, they don't put the family first, right? You see backstabbing amongst siblings. Is that something you really want long term as a part of your family unit, teaching your children, educating your children? I would say not, right? So I have a story about, a guy, and, and it's not about this guy, but at the beginning of the video, I'm going to put a clip about, a guy who's crying over a woman who cheated on him. And she probably gave him so many red flags that, he just kept avoiding him, kept ignoring him, and just went further. But it's a story about a friend of mine. Well, he was a friend of mine. He's now dead. And I remember he was dating a woman. I never really met the woman, but we was going to college together. We was going up to Grambling State together, and he was dating a woman. And at the time I was dating a woman, I lived with the woman, and a lot of guys just look up to me in that way from a relationship standpoint, and from just a standpoint of, getting asked advice a lot. They'd come up to me and say, "Hey, Peyton, what's going on? I got some advice." So he asked me for some advice on moving his girlfriend in with him. And he was maybe 21 years old at the time. He was doing pretty good for himself. He was going to school. He had a job as a barber, making pretty good money. He had his own apartment, which is, pretty good at 21 years old. I think he had like a Challenger or something like that. So he was driving okay, pretty cool. He was doing well for himself. And he came up to me and said, "Hey, Peyton, I've been dating this girl on and off, in Alexandria. And I was wondering, what would you think if I moved up with me?" I said, "Well, tell me about her. Tell me about this woman and tell me why, you want to move up there." Because I said, right now you're doing well for yourself. You're young. I don't think you need to move a woman in with you. You need to really just focus on growing yourself, continue to get better, and continue to improve your barbership skills and finish going to school. So he talked about the arguments they had. He talked about, "Man, we argue all the time, man. She's disrespectful, but I love her." Different things about how, she's sneaky and, and everything like that. So I advised him against it. but he ended up moving her up with him anyway. So he came to me a couple weeks later and he talked about how they argued the whole way to the mall. Now the mall was 30 minutes. Monroe was about 30-minute drive. The mall was wasn't it in West Monroe or was it in Monroe? Maybe 30, 45-minute drive. And he talked about how they argue with such intensity. He's like, man, I don't understand, what I should do, man. It's like, when I'm going at class, she's not back when I get back. The door's locked and I couldn't get in. She wasn't answering the phone. So he's getting all these signals that, it's not what needs to be done. It doesn't work. So fast forward maybe a week, 2 weeks. I get a call. My friend, who also was a barber, my friend Q gave me a call and said, hey, man, he dead. He killed himself. So I'm taken off guard. I'm like, what do you mean? What happened? He wasn't depressed or nothing. I just spoke with him a couple of days ago. We were running on the track. We was talking. We was doing our thing, right? And he said he's dead. So apparently, from what Q told me, he saw the video at the apartment complex. He was dating a woman at the apartment complex at the time. And he showed me the video. Well, he didn't show me the video because I didn't want to see it, but he talked to me about what was on the video. And he said that, the guy had got to the point where he was beating on a woman because he was trying to control a woman, which I didn't think that was in his character, but you never know. And it's inexcusable to just randomly beat on a woman just because she's not cooperating with whatever plan you got in place for her. I'm not going to beat on her. I'm just going to move along and find another woman. So, he ended up shooting a woman. And he ended up shooting himself. Now, the woman didn't die. And apparently the argument was over at a party. It was over her talking to other men, which caused him and prompted him to get into the argument in the first place, right? So it was over other men. And when it came down to it, he ended up shooting her. He ended up shooting himself. He ended up killing himself. And she ended up living. She went to his funeral and everything. It was very strange. The whole thing was strange. And she cried at his funeral. And then maybe after she healed, a month after she healed, she tried to talk to one of his friends. So I'm not saying he was right in this situation for wanting to shoot her or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is that sometimes when people show you who you are and you don't believe them, it can lead to deadly consequences. Sometimes it's better just to leave a person alone than to stick around, and he had all the signs, all the red flags, everything. And he continued. And a lot of times that's what a lot of guys go through. And the difference is they don't end up shooting a woman, but they end up saying, you know what, she was no good. She cheated on me. But she gave you every sign. She gave you everything to tell you that she wasn't a woman for you. And you put that woman in a long-term box when she didn't belong there. Because in your mind, you want to convince yourself that she was the woman for you because maybe you really loved her. Or maybe because you aren't that social and you struggle to meet women. So you latched on to the first woman you did meet and made it work. And in the end, you got consequences. You have to be careful and mindful of the people you deal with, especially when it comes to women. And you have to be, cognizant, and you have to have your eyes open. Because if not, you're going to get fooled. You're going to get played. And it's going to be your fault. So, that's what it is. People give you signs, and a lot of times we ignore them. So that's all I got for you guys today. Go ahead and subscribe, like, share, comment, the whole nine. I see our video views was going up. I just want to see a few more likes with that. Maybe a few more sharing it. If this helps you guys, if any of these videos help you guys, go ahead and share it with one of your friends, your family members. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to get the likes up, just trying to get the views up. Just want to keep getting the content out. So that's all I got for you guys today. I'm out. Peace.